Hi there, my name is Toby and this is body efficiency training, my own method of training that I've developed over many years of internal, external martial arts and all sorts of different body work. But it's really my own thing. I'm starting again from scratch, trying to understand how the body works and how can we get the most out of it. What is the most efficient way of using this body we find ourselves in? Back in 1997-98, I went to train in Malaysia and I trained and met some very interesting masters, and I want to tell you about that experience now. And there are some very interesting secret exercises that I learned, and if you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to do one of those exercises. I'm going to take you through one of those exercises that we can do together. A very unusual exercise. You probably have not seen anything like this before, but a very effective and a very easy. We can all do it. It's not physically difficult to do. And it really started from my Shaolin Kung Fu training. So I was training Shaolin Kung Fu. Really, I started that in early teenage years at school. And it was way before Shaolin Kung Fu was famous. So we just thought it was Kung Fu. We didn't really know what Shaolin was. And then later on when I started university, I discovered that the same Kung Fu club was teaching at my university, Imperial College in London. So of course I joined again and started there really more seriously. And it was back in 1997-98 after I'd achieved quite a high level of training, and my Shaolin master here in London, his name was Master Lai Qi Chung, and his Shaolin Kung Fu he called Nam Pai Chuan, North-South Fist, because he had a bit of northern style Shaolin and southern style Shaolin. But it comes from an abbot in the Shaolin temple in Singapore, and this abbot was called Seko-sung. His name is pronounced in different ways. But he essentially escaped China and moved to Singapore, but he travelled all the way around and taught lots of different things to different people. He was a very high level master. He was a healer, so he'd go around doing healing as well. And so he taught his Kung Fu to different people, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, all around. Of course, I went to Singapore to see the temple and pay my respects and see the memorial of the abbot there, and to train with my grandmaster. So my Shaolin master here let me train with his master in Malaysia, who trained with the abbot of that Shaolin temple in Singapore. So it's a traditional lineage of Shaolin. I can trace it all the way back. And it's very interesting. Traditional Shaolin Kung Fu is not quite what you see today. What you see today is the more modern Shaolin. It's a bit more acrobatic. They're jumping around, doing some more impressive things. But the traditional Shaolin is quite practical. It's really just standing up and doing various hand movements. But it's using a whole body structure in a very practical way. So there's a lot of similarities with Tai Chi. Tai Chi again is a standing stance, moving around fairly practically. It's not too dramatic. So it's designed for practicality's sake. It's meant to be real. It's meant to be real, useful movements. So that's why I liked it. I liked the traditional Kung Fu because I could see there was some natural movement here. And that's what my training is all about, is natural movement, trying to understand how the body moves naturally and optimize that. So it's really a scientific study. This body efficiency training that I'm sharing is a scientific study. It's not so much a style. And it's interesting to note because there are so many different styles that we tend to get lost in the style, and by the time we spent 10-20 years learning a style, we got quite attached to it and we think, well, this is the style now, I've learned this, it's this style is most important. But of course it's nothing to do with the style, it's to do with the internal body structure and your internal body awareness. And if you have that, you can do any style. And I used to teach this, I taught Shaolin Kung Fu and trained for a good 20 years leading up to this trip to Malaysia that I want to tell you about. But I also taught my own way of martial arts for another 10-20 years. And I'd have people come to me from all different martial arts, and I'd never done them before, but it wouldn't take me long for them to show me a few movements of their martial arts, and I'd understand what it is and be able to do it correctly and help them with it, because I understood the alignment and the structure of the human body, and I could work out what it is that movement of that style of martial art was trying to do. What is the force they're trying to create, and how is the bone structure meant to be put together to create that force? So it's all about the internal structure of your body and the internal feeling. How you have to develop that yourself, the internal feeling of your energy, your Qi. So you could also call this training Qi Gong, but it's my own approach to Qi Gong. and it's a more universal approach. I'm hoping that this is a very universal approach that I'm sharing with you. But this video today, I want to tell you about this experience, my 2 months training. I can't remember exactly, it might have been 2 or 3 months training in Malaysia. And I met a lot of very interesting masters from different styles, and I want to tell you what I learned from them. It was my Kung Fu master here, my Shaolin master, who let me go and train with his teacher, his master. So it's effectively my grandmaster, and he trained with the abbot in the Shaolin temple in Singapore. So my master was Master Lai, and I went to train with Master Kwek. His name was Master Kwek. So at the time he was a 71-year-old Shaolin master, very interesting character. Couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Chinese. So we communicated mostly through miming, and but I spent a good few days training with him morning and night, and he taught me a very long set. It was 400 moves set of Shaolin, and it's really an overview of everything he learned from this abbot in the Shaolin temple. So it was a very important set of 400 moves that gave a good overview of this entire traditional Shaolin style. And again, it's very much just like standing up straight, very similar to Tai Chi, but lots of different various hand movements and slight variations of a basic structure. So that tells me this is all about natural movement. And he was shorter than me, but super tough. He was known for iron fist. So his hand was like one great big lump. And his hands were smaller than mine, but his fingers were at least 2 or 3 times as fat as mine, and they were huge, and he nearly had one big knuckle. So he was known for iron palm. He was always smashing his palm against things, and iron finger. So he could break a marble slab with one finger by smashing it down like this. His finger was so strong. So he's done this serious hard Kung Fu training with his master, so he was known for that. And his arms are so strong. There was a story about him. He was mugged when he was younger, and they attacked him with an iron bar. Unless they hit him with the iron bar, he blocked the iron bar, and the iron bar bent. And that was so terrifying that the guys just ran off after that. So it shows you there was some practical use to that strength building. But I did that for a while. I conditioned my arms and my legs quite seriously for a while. But I haven't done that for a long time. That doesn't interest me quite so much anymore. What I'm interested in is the bone structure, the feeling of the alignment of the bones. And I am conditioning the bones by punching a punch bag, but it's more about shaking the whole bone structure and feeling the energy pass through my skeleton, pass through the bones. So I learnt a very long set from this guy, and I learnt some Qi from Master Kwek. It was a big challenge because it was such a long set. I learned 50 moves in the morning and then 50 moves in the evening. So I had to memorize those 50 moves by the time I got back in the evening to learn the next 50 moves. We couldn't waste any time repeating what he did in the morning. So it's just straight on to the next 50 moves. So I really had to learn this fast. So I was very good at learning sets. I'd learned so many sets when I trained Shaolin. I could learn martial arts sets quite quickly. It's like a dancer. A dancer can learn choreography quite fast. But of course, the important bit is really the inner structure, the Qi. What do I do inside my body? So this was the main reason I went to Malaysia was to train with this Shaolin master. My Kung Fu master in London, he also trained Taekwondo. So he set me up with his Taekwondo teacher in Malaysia also, who happened to be the head of the Olympic team, the Malaysia Olympic team. So I went to the Olympic building and had a good chat with this Taekwondo master, who was the head of Olympic Taekwondo in Malaysia. So a serious guy. And he set me up with the Olympic team. So I trained for a week with the Malaysia Olympic Taekwondo team. And that again was another different experience, but very, very intensive training in the morning, sprinting up and down the hill in the park, doing kicks, doing all sorts of things. And in the evening we trained fighting. And so I'd done more Shaolin than Taekwondo, that we did learn Taekwondo in our Shaolin because our teacher taught us a bit of both. He taught us the practical moves of Taekwondo together with the traditional more internal moves of Shaolin, but Taekwondo was very useful for practical fighting and sparring and getting general mobility of your body around. And interesting, I'd fight with this team in Malaysia, and they had very great kicks, very good leg control, incredible leg control. I couldn't quite match that leg control. I could kick high, but not to the level these guys could. But what was interesting is they got very frustrated fighting with me. I remember that, because I'd just wait back. It's all about timing. So I'd be timing it, they'd do a couple of fancy kicks, and the moment they'd done their kick, I'd just step forward with a punch or step forward with a straight kick and knock them over. So I was just waiting for my timing very carefully, watching. As soon as I got the moment, I'd just come in with a straight kick. So I was using the more practical, simple approach, and in general I did quite well against these guys who could do very, very fancy moves. But nevertheless, I learned an awful lot from those guys. Very good methods of stretching your legs to improve your flexibility, and we'll be doing some of this stuff in time. So this was the main reason I went to Malaysia, but in that time I met lots of other people, lots of other very interesting masters. And I went to train in the park early in the morning, and there's lots of people doing Qi, and one of the things I went to train was Parkour. Now Parkour is another internal martial art. There's three main internal Kung Fu styles. One is Tai Chi, one is Parkour, and one is Xing Yi. And these three styles are doing very similar but slightly different things. Tai Chi is more like you can think, okay, let's go back. Parkour is more like moving around in circles. Parkour is twisting and turning, and they're working the tendons by twisting and stretching and moving around and round in circles. Then you've got Xing Yi is more like straight lines. They're looking at alignment and moving forward and backward in a straight line with straightforward, simple attacks. But they're using structure in a direct line for fighting. And then you have Tai Chi, which is like a combination of the two. You've got some turns and you've got some straight lines. So Tai Chi is like a bit like a mixture of Parkour and Xing Yi. Put very simply. But there's some great legends about these internal Kung Fu styles, and they say that many years ago they challenged each other to find out which was the best one. So we had the Tai Chi master, the Parkour master, and the Xing Yi master all came together and they fought. And I think they said they fought continuously for 3 days, 3 days and nights. And at the end of that, they decided, all right, we'll call it a draw. So at least in the Kung Fu circles, these three styles are thought of as the main styles of internal Kung Fu, but there are others. So I went to learn this Parkour Qi Gong, and it was a particular style of Parkour. Again, a very unusual one. It was called Liu Yi Parkour. I can't remember the exact translation of it. But nevertheless, it was a long Qi Gong set, took an hour, and it was to do with stretching out your fingers and twisting and stretching your whole body as you move around into different things. And this was very, very powerful, strong work, and your whole body will be aching at the end, but it was a nice ache. You're working the tendons and the bone structure. And the master who was teaching that, at the end we'd chat to him and do a little bit of fighting with him. So of course I wanted to take my chance. So I chatted with him, and he would very, very proudly show off how strong his arms were. So he'd get you hold your arm out and he would just bash your arm with his arm. And it was tough as steel. Very, very strong. You know, an old guy, quite thin, but their bones and their tendons are strong. So you can train that into old age. But he would proudly say, I never hit a bag. He never hit anything. He didn't do any of this hard training hitting stuff. All he ever did was this Qi Gong, this exercise is that twisting and stretching the tendons, and that had made his forearms so leathery, so strong, that his tendons were like a shell around his bones, making his arms very, very strong. So there you can see how the internal training of the tendons strengthened up his body. And that is very different to the Shaolin master who was training his strength by bashing himself against things. So that way you're building up the strength, but you're building up the bone strength also, because you're knocking the bones, which builds up the density of the bones. If you're doing the soft method with tendon strength, you're still squeezing the bones, but you need to knock them if you want to increase the bone density. Although you need to put pressure on the bones, you need to put weight onto your bones. That will also improve the bone density. So that was a very interesting thing, and I practiced that again, that Qi Gong, this Louis Parkour Qi Gong, for quite a long time. Then I also met a guy who took me to see a Chinese doctor. Now this Chinese doctor was, again, very interesting doctor. He was an acupuncturist, but he didn't use needles. So he was a very rare doctor that used one finger. So it was again that guy that had big, tough fingers, extremely strong fingers, and he trained himself with this one finger here to put into acupuncture points. So people would come to treat him, he'd do a little massage. He knew bone settings, so he'd reset the bones, and then he uses one finger like this to put Qi into different pressure points. And it's very rare to find a doctor who could still do that. And the interesting thing he told me, he was training, and you can all try this, it's very difficult. He trained so that you could have tension in one finger here. So if I hold tension in this one finger, the other three fingers and a thumb have got to be relaxed. But you see, if you hold tension in this finger, you'll see there's always going to be slight tension in the rest. It's very difficult to control your tension and relaxation so that there's only tension in one finger and the rest are relaxed. So this is very, very high level skill. But what he was training, of course, is to transmit Qi through this one finger into the pressure points. And the interesting thing to note about his training, at the beginning, he'd always put the pressure in the back of the neck. There's a point here at the top of the head. And the first thing he would do is put his finger into that. And what he would say is he was closing down the Qi. He was stopping the Qi going too much into the head. Then he would do the treatment on the body, put Qi in all different places to heal the person. And at the end, he would massage again here to unlock the head so that the Qi could circulate through the person. But he was aware that he was using a lot of Qi and he didn't want it to go too much into that person's head. You know, there's a large quantity of energy going to your brain. If you're not used to it, you know, it could cause you a little bit of discomfort or problems. So he was genuinely using Qi. And he told me a lot about some of his Qi, the Qi he trained. And he talked about as well the Taoist practice, because in the Tao and even in the Shaolin, they practice conservation of your hormones. You've got to circulate your hormonal fluid, conserving your hormonal fluids so that you use that to regenerate yourself and build up more Qi. So anyway, that doctor was a very interesting one to witness him working and learning some of the pressure points from him and some of the secrets of how to revive someone who gets knocked unconscious. You press certain points at the back. And for a while again, I thought about learning the entire acupuncture system. And I learned quite a few points. There's 108 main pressure points to learn, but there's many, many more to learn them all. But I never really bothered completely learning it. And again, these things sort of didn't feel so important to me. I was interested in the overall general picture. I wanted to know, how does the Qi work? And what are the most basic, simple things I've got to do? That's all I've got to know. What are the simple things, the overall picture that I can concentrate on to really build this? These are all minor details, different details, that's fine. But I need the basics, and we all need the basics, and that's what I want to share with you now in this whole channel. I'm trying to share the very simplest basic things to do so we can take ourselves all up to the next level together. We can all build our Qi up. And the trouble is, of course, we get lost in the details. This style, this little exercise, this little movement, we must do this correct. Yeah, fine, but what we don't know is how our own whole overall body should be working. That's what we need to know. I also trained in Penang with a monkey Kung Fu school. So I met a very interesting monkey Kung Fu master. That was fascinating, and he was very highly respected. He was also the consultant advisor for the whole of Wing Chun in Malaysia, so they respected him highly. And he had a 7/8 Dan karate expert with him as well, who respected him very highly and helped him teach his class. So he was doing monkey Kung Fu. It's a dedicated monkey Kung Fu all by itself, and most of his students were quite young. 16 years old was his most senior student, and this guy was hard as nails. And of course, my first job was to have a little sparring session with this 16-year-old. I was quite young at the time. I can't remember exactly how old I was, in my early 20s, but this 16-year-old kid was hard as nails. Very difficult to fight with him, and we only did a friendly fight. I'm not one to go and challenge and fight for real. I've got no interest in that. I just want to learn how the body works, how the Qi works, and what can I do for myself to develop this. But even he had young girls, 12-year-old girls, and they were just churning out knuckle push-ups on the concrete floor, you know, and they'd be just punching these bags with rocks, stones and beans. So these 12-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls were hard as nails. And there was another, I think, a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl. She had a black eye. And I said, well, what happened? As I was training. What training were you doing to get a black eye? So they were throwing bamboo at each other. So if you can imagine a large bamboo, throwing it at like a spear, you have to block it and dodge it. And of course, you got hit in the eye by the bamboo. So we could not get away with that training over here in the West. This will be regarded as extremely bad health and safety practice. But over there, they were hard as nails. That was a serious Kung Fu school, and they were just going for it. But that master was also teaching them a certain amount of Qi and meditation and chanting. So he was teaching them chanting to help them calm their mind, stay a bit more stable, because he knew you're learning a lot of powerful things, you're learning a lot of strength in your body, and you need to also keep your mind calm together with that. You don't want to develop an ego, you want to develop humility together with this. And generally martial artists do. The better you get at martial arts, the calmer you become, generally so, because you have a confidence. You know that nobody can do much to you, so I'm not going to bother getting angry or upset. And that's important when we do want this calmness. And as you develop your Qi, your energy, that you also develop a greater control of your emotional self. But controlling your emotions is a difficult thing. We all struggle with that. Every one of us struggles. Emotions are always going to be there. It's about awareness, controlling or being aware of what your feelings are. That's key. So from this monkey kung fu, I learnt a few monkey sets. And he was teaching me an internal power strike. He called it the Z punch. So his hand was making a sort of a Z shape. And at the time, I was struggled to try and understand what he was telling me. And he said, oh, well, it takes 5 years to learn this internal power strike. But now I understand it was essentially a whip strike, a short range upright punch with a whip. And I'll be talking a lot more about whip strikes. I've already done one video talking a little bit, or a couple of videos talking a little bit about them. But we will go into detail on that. Then the next master that I met, that was the one that we're going to do some exercises from, was a Tai Chi master. So I also learned from a Tai Chi and a Taoist master. And well, a couple of them in fact, because another guy told me about a few books on the Tao that I got. But in terms of books, if you want to learn more about this stuff, I recommend Mantak Chia. So I've trained a lot with Mantak Chia over the years. He does workshops. He's a very big, famous Taoist master. Many, many books. So you can find detailed information about this stuff in his work. So if you look up, and you can find him on YouTube, look up Mantak Chia. Lots of stuff about him, well worth a look and well worth a read if you're interested in that. So Mantak Chia, but he's separate. I didn't meet him there. I met him here in London, because he travels the world teaching. And over the years, I've trained a lot with Mantak Chia as well. And I'm qualified in his training and in his healing methods. But from this Tai Chi master, so I learnt Tai Chi first of all, and I'd done mostly Shaolin up until then. So I've done some Tai Chi, but never fully learnt the Tai Chi form. The whole form in Tai Chi is 108 steps. So I went and learnt this from this Tai Chi master, and he was a Taoist. He called it the Taoist Tai Chi. So I went to one lesson from him, and I started learning. And at the end of the lesson, he gave me the book and said, here's the whole book of the Tai Chi, 108 steps. So I only learnt 4 or 5 steps, because it's a class, you can't learn much. But I was so keen, I went away, I took the book, and I studied the book, and I learnt the whole 108 steps. And the next time I came back to the class, after the class, I said, well, okay, I've learnt the whole form now, can you have a look and see? So he was like, what, you learnt the whole form? Yeah, I learnt the whole set, and let me show you. Okay, so he then looked at me, and he was very, very impressed, because I was very, very good at sets. And the similarity to Shaolin of that Tai Chi was remarkable. The structure and the standing position, it's a very simple stepping standing position. And once you get the basic natural idea of your spine and your body, these all come together. These are all roughly the same. So he only made a couple of corrections, and he was very impressed that he invited me then to train with him privately and his inner door student. And then he told me a couple of internal exercises, secret Taoist exercises. And one very interesting one was the vacuum breath, where you have to exhale and suck your belly in, but you also had to pull in your genital area, and then you had to stick out your tongue and then suddenly inhale, suck in the air and swallow. There's a lot of very interesting things in that exercise. But I'm going to teach that exercise properly in time, the vacuum breath. The vacuum breath is an interesting one, and the yogis do that. Yogis do this sucking in of the belly. So far what I've been talking about is pulling in the belly, but by tension of the TA muscle, the transversus abdominis muscle. Sucking in is different. Sucking in is pulling in by creating a vacuum with your chest and sucking the belly in. The air's got to be out. So we'll come to that. But he also taught me a couple of interesting sort of meditation visualization exercises to develop Qi. And the main Qi, there's this thing called a small circulation, where the Qi goes, the energy goes up the back and down the front, and it circulates round and round your body like this. It goes on between your legs, and then over the crown of the head, comes down, touches through the roof of the mouth, through the tongue, down, and then it goes through the pelvic floor, up the back. So there's a circuit of energy that goes round and round. This is called the small circulation. And there is the grand circulation, the big circulation. But the big circulation is same thing, but it includes the arms and the legs. So it includes everything. And in Mantak Chia, we'll call this the microcosmic orbit. So if you want to look up that, you can also look that up. But he told me a very interesting exercise to help build this small circulation. And it's very unusual. I don't think you would have seen anything like this before. And I want to take you through it now. So there's 3 parts to this exercise. The first part is you have to just sit. You're sitting down, nice and easy, nice straight spine, and you can have your hands on the belly or hands on your knees, nice and easy. And the first part of this is, it's easier for me to draw this. Let me draw this a bit for you. If this is your body here, this is you. So you're sitting down. There's your eyes, there's your mouth. So the first exercise is you have to visualize your kidneys. So your kidneys are here and your lower back. And what you do is you inhale first, you feel an expansion here at the kidneys, and when you exhale, you feel like something is coming out of your kidneys are coming out, and they're going round to the front to the navel. And it happens both ways. The other one goes round the outside, behind, and then round and back into the front here. Here's your navel. So you have an inhale, you inhale to here, you feel an expansion here, and then when you exhale, you feel something coming out from the mid-back, in the middle of your kidneys, coming round both sides of your body and going into the navel. So you have to do this, and you do this 36 repetitions, 36 times. So in the Taoist practices, they have numbers are important, and there's a whole discussion about why these numbers are important, but we'll come to that in time. So 36 times. So you inhale, feel the kidneys expand, exhale, and you visualize something coming out the back, going round like this, round the sides, and then back in the front. Inhale, you feel just an expansion, you relax. Exhale, you're squeezing the air. It's like the air is blowing out the back of your body, coming round the sides, and then going into the navel. And you have to do this for 36 breaths. And then the next part of this, after you've done that, the next part is you inhale again, you inhale, feel the expansion to the back, and then you exhale, you imagine you're growing 2 horns at the back of your head. So again, this sounds very, very odd, but what you're really doing is you're helping the energy rise up the 2 sides of your spine, and they come up again to the back of your head. You're growing 2 horns up like this, the 2 sides of your head. So the way you do it is you inhale, just relaxing, feeling expansion in your lower back. Then you exhale. As you exhale, you feel the energy rise up and project up like 2 horns coming up the 2 sides of your head. And this is helping the energy rise up through your spine, the sides of your neck, and into your head. We want it to go into the head. But this is the visualization. You visualize on the exhale 2 horns growing up. That's the way he described it. So you can see this is unusual. If you didn't have a full understanding of Qi, which I didn't at the time, this is just madness. What is this? All right, I'll give it a go. So 36 times. Again, 36 repetitions of this breath. And in the third part, the last bit is you've got to visualize. You visualize your third eye. So the mid-eyebrow here. You visualize the third eye, and there's a line that comes out, goes around like this, down into the navel. So you visualize a connection between the third eye and the navel, like this, outside the front of your body. So all you're doing is breathing. So he said that there's not the breathing again, 36 breaths. You just take 36 breaths, but you're just continually visualizing this line coming down. So all you're doing is breathing. But the way I did it, of course, inhale and exhale. As I breathe out, I imagine the air was coming down like this and going into my navel. So it's concentrating on going down, but it's going down outside the front of your body. There's a line connecting your navel and your third eye. So this was the exercise. 3 sets of breathing. First one is down here, breathing out from the back into the front. The second one is breathing here, lifting it up to the head through these 2 horns. And the third part was breathing down like this to the belly. So we'll do it together. We won't do 36 reps, but you can do that together yourself 36 reps. So let's do it. Hands on the knees, stretch up nice and tall, lift up your shoulders. You're arching a little bit back. Pull your stomach in, so you don't want a belly hanging out. You've got a little expansion in the rib cage. Your sternum is tilted slightly up. So you've got a nice open spine. Then you inhale, feel the ribs expand down to the kidneys. And as you exhale, you visualize something coming out the back and then round to the front and going into the navel. So you inhale, feel the expansion of the kidneys. Exhale, from the kidneys it comes round the sides back into the navel. Inhale the kidneys, exhale, and again just breathing through the nose, tongue touching the roof of the mouth. So it's nice, easy, relaxed breathing. It's to do with the visualization and trying to feel this thing going on. And if you practice this for a while, you can start to feel the energy doing this. You feel, oh yeah, something coming out the back going round to the front. Okay, then the next one we do is 2 horns growing up the back here, the back of the head. So again, sit nice and tall, inhale, expand the ribs, expand the kidneys, exhale, breathing out, feel 2 horns rising up here. Inhale, expand, exhale, contract, but feel the extension up here into the 2 horns coming up your head. Good. And then the last one, we visualize the third eye. Again, tongue touching with the mouth going down to the navel. So again, you inhale, expand, exhale. The way I do it is feel the air is coming out the third eye and going into the navel, inside the navel. Inhale and exhale. Tongue touching the roof of the mouth. Energy comes out and goes down. And good, relax. So you can practice that yourself. And if you really want to do it, it's 36 breaths each time, for each one. And at the end, just relax, twist a little bit left and right. Hold your hands on the belly. Twist left and right and try and feel something spinning round and round in your belly. This is the way we build up the Qi. See, in the belly here, horizontally, you're spinning round and round like this. You're spinning in a circle inside your belly. And you can also imagine like a ball of energy. There's a ball of energy in your belly. And this could be spinning in all different directions. Any different way this ball could be moving. But the one we work on is round horizontally like a belt going round and round. And this is important because this goes opposite to your center line. The center of gravity through your body like this thing spins round it. And this will help you to keep your balance. So if you spin a spinning top, you know a spinning top, you've got a spinning top, spins round and round and round, it will balance. You can, because this creates inertia to hold you straight. It's a gyroscope. So this helps, this spinning round and round will help you to keep your balance in a vertical alignment and helps to build the Qi in your belly. So there you go. That is one of the secret exercises I learned from a Taoist Tai Chi master in Malaysia. I hope you found this interesting and check out these other videos here. Look forward to seeing you next time.